Hello everyone, my name is Lynette Tran and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So, what is communicating? Communicating is keeping in touch with the other party in a timely manner. When you communicate, you maintain your relationship and build professional credibility. Whether it be digitally, verbally, or physically, communicating is a skill that you are likely going to be relying a lot down in the near future as you step into more leadership positions. What are some methods of communicating? Well, you can communicate via phone calls, email, Slack. Slack is like the professional version of Discord, Zoom, or in-person conversations. When you're communicating in high school, it can be pretty challenging because you're just a student and so perhaps you have limited experience. Don't worry too much about this as the other person or the other party will likely be acknowledging this fact and they will give you a little bit of leeway to work with. You could also have casual texting habits. So especially when you're writing emails, this can be dangerous because you want to make sure that you are being professional so you don't include slang like IDK. You could also be unsure how to format your emails, which is totally reasonable because, again, this isn't something that's taught in schools. But that's okay because I do have some templates today to help you out. And you might be unfamiliar with how to ask for things, how to disagree, or how to follow up, especially when you just came back from a professional networking event and you want to continue building that relationship with the other person. It can be kind of awkward following up with them. There are also some unwritten rules for tone when you're using different apps, so you also need to be mindful of that. But all that being said, how does one communicate professionally? So email etiquette is what I'm going to be touching on the most in today's video. And when you're emailing somebody, you want to make sure that you have these 5 main things, or actually 6 main things. You want to have a subject line. A subject line needs to be clear and specific, and it needs to address what you're trying to communicate to them about. A greeting is highly, strongly encouraged because even though you are being professional with them, a greeting helps establish a more friendly, casual tone. And tone is key when you're communicating with someone. The opening line is crucial. It's kind of like your EQ or your thesis. It's the lead-in and it states what you want or you need from the other person. It's basically your purpose, and the opening line helps your email not be too wordy. In your body, you want to give more details about what you're talking to them about. So you want to be clear and also concise. Try to answer the 5 W's, like the who, what, the when, the why, and the where, and maybe even the how. And then for your closing line, you want to thank them for their time and acknowledge that they have a busy schedule. But that being said, what I like to do is I like to include like a thank you. So I'll be like, thank you so much for your time. I look forward eagerly to your response. That little line right there kind of forces them to respond to you and not ghost you. So that's like my little pro tip. And then a sign-off. A sign-off doesn't have to be fancy or anything. It can be like, sincerely, Lynette Tran, or best wishes, Lynette Tran. It's the way to end the email in a polite manner. So yeah, here are some templates that I have for you. One of them, because we are students, you are likely going to be interacting with our teachers a lot. And so here is a template for what you could send to a teacher if you need them to help you with something or if you need like a regrade. Obviously, dear Mr., Mrs., and then in your body, notice how I include the who, the what, the when, why, yeah. And then at the very end, I say thank you so much for your time, and then I say best wishes, name. Super easy, super simple. If you are requesting an extension, for example, like the same gist, try to include like your reason for needing an extension, the original date that it was due, and also the date that you would likely need the extension to. Obviously, also try to be as courteous as possible because it's more likely that you're going to get what you're asking for. Following up with somebody. This is something that I mentioned earlier. LinkedIn is one of like the business professional ways to keep in touch with somebody. I consider it like the business Instagram. So on LinkedIn, you have the ability to send them an invite to connect, and that is something that I highly encourage doing. When you are sending an invite to connect to somebody, you also have the option to send them a short little blurb. So I highly recommend taking full advantage of that. And then when you are communicating with someone, you need to consider your audience. For teachers who you see every day, they don't expect you to be super duper formal in your email, so that is a bonus. But still try to maintain that like courteous professional tone because these teachers are teachers that you are going to be likely relying on for letters of rec for college and for internships or scholarships. For students, honestly, if the students are in your grade, You don't have to be professional either. You can be totally casual, but still be specific, because like specificity is key. And then career professionals like mentors or people that you look up to, you want to be as formal as possible. If they have never interacted with you before, or if you've only interacted once and there's a possibility that they don't know who you are, try to reintroduce yourself and then refresh their memory. Like if you've already met them, you can be like, hi, we met at blah, 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 blah. I was really inspired by your blah, 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 just to like refresh them on who you are. Always be specific as possible, and before you click that send button, proofread and spell check. That is something that even I struggle with, and so always like double check that what you're sending is like the best that you can send them. So when you receive an email, try to respond as soon as possible. A good rule of thumb is within 1 to 2 business days. When you send out an email, if you don't get a response within 1 to 2 business days, send a follow-up. For video calls and interviews, like as I mentioned earlier, communicating doesn't have to be just digitally, it can be physically. So come prepared. Your body language is also very crucial. How you present yourself is very important. And try not to have a messy background, especially if it's an important interview for something. Try to look and maintain that professionalism. Remember, practice is key, and you are also just a student, so people will be understanding if you mess up. And with all that being said, I hope you're able to take a little bit of what I talked about today and be the Miss CEO of your life. Thank you.